Okay, listen, pay attention, Alkebulan, pay attention, my people. You see, I could still remember the look in my father's eyes. Yes, I could still remember the looks in my father's eyes and the innocence that covered it when he called me my son Oshabla. Come, let us thank God for William Wilberforce, that man who had the courage to stand at the British Law of Commons and said, let us abolish slave trade. My father spoke of him like his name carries salvation, like he was a man sent from heaven to save Alkebulan. I could still remember vividly. I wrote his name in my heart, willing to name my son Wilberforce, because William Wilberforce saved Alkebulan. If only we knew that what we thought that was done out of morality for humanity was actually done because they have seen that slavery have lost its shine and sheen. If only we knew that they did not do it because they had integrity or dignity, but because they knew another system more lucrative was about to be born in the world and they wanted to control it. And to control it, they must present themselves like they were pious men for what they previously engineered. Pay attention. You know, when they teach you that William Wilberforce moved the motion for the abolition of slave trade, they tell you, oh, and they did it. You would think he made the motion today, tomorrow they abolish it. No. He made that speech in 1789. But it took them 18 good years for them to actually abolish slave trade, because slave trade was abolished in 1807. That is 18 years from 1789. But you need to understand that abolishing slave trade is not the same as abolishing slavery. No, it's not the same, because even after slave trade was abolished, people were still selling people in the black market because slavery was not abolished. What was abolished was slave trade. There's a difference. Slave trade was abolished in 1807, but slavery was abolished in 1833. Now count it. From 1789 to 1807, when slave trade was abolished, is 18 years. But from 1789 to 1833, when slavery was abolished, is how many years? 44 years. Why did it take them so long? They were setting up structures and systems that will enable them to come for colonialism. Because it only took them from 1833 to 1884 November and 1885 February to engineer colonialism. That is after 51 years. Otto von Bismarck called them, they gathered at the Berlin. People call it the Berlin Conference. It's not a conference. Conference is where people gather to discuss something meaningful that will help the world. These people came together to discuss how to share people they never met, and to slice mountains they never climbed, and rivers they never crossed. They shared Africa. That is not a conference. That is a scramble. Scramble. Do you know what is scramble? When barbarians drag what does not belong to them. That is scramble. That is called a scramble for Africa. It took them 51 years to engineer it, and they came. On a good day, I will tell you everything they discussed in that meeting. So today, they left. You think they just left? No. They set another structure for neocolonialism and imperialism, which is a byproduct of what? Gumbo diplomacy. Gumbo diplomacy became the product of this neocolonialism and imperialism. That's why your leaders must always go to Chatham House. They must go to Buckingham Palace once in a while, so that their landlord will massage their head, because they are the caretakers and you are the tenants in your country. Nothing changed. Nothing. The system changed its language and not its nature. Alkebulan, when we tell you you are not free, you say, oh, thank crier, let us take accountability and responsibility for once. We are now free. We are president in our country. I laugh, because the ancestors have already said it to you, but you are not listening. I say, how free are you? You say you are as free as the bird. Is the bird free? If the birds are free, they'll be walking with us on the ground. You read, but you don't listen. That's why I say pay attention. When you go through that book that was given to us by the ancestors through a man called Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, there was a bird called Anieke. Anieke, the bird in that book, Things Fall Apart, said, I, Anieke, the bird, has learned to fly without perching. Why? Because the hunters has learned to shoot without aiming. So since the hunter has learned to shoot without aiming, I and Yeke the bird has learned to fly without perching. The ancestors were telling you that even as a bird you think you are still not free. That was why when Nelson Madiba Mandela came out of prison, they asked him, Mandela, South Africans asked him, Mandela, are we free? He said, no, we are not free. We have only gained the freedom to be free. We have only gained the freedom to be free. Look at South Africa today. Look at it in its nature. With everything happening in South Africa today, are they free? No. Even with that freedom they have gained to be free, they have not used it to be free. That is why the whites still control 80% of the land. That is why they can do what they do to black Africans, their fellow Africans, because freedom first starts from the mind. Alkebulan, you must be free and free indeed. You must be free and free indeed. And I don't just talk and stop there. I give you books free of charge so you can read and understand. 6th of May, I'm going to be publishing the Lagos bombardment because I want to teach you something using Lagos bombardment so you will know exactly what happened. You will know that Lagos was not just bombarded like that. The British saw something happening in Lagos, the collapse of the internal system. That's why they came and utilized the opportunity. Exactly what I warned you people about William very dark man fighting. That was what happened in Lagos, that the British saw a loophole and came into. You'll see it in that book very soon. Alkebulan, wisdom is the principal thing. It comes from above. Be free and be free indeed. You cannot do anything without mental freedom. Alkebulan, wisdom is the principal thing.